Well, a new fence surrounding a business in East Elmhurst has created a frenzy among people in the neighborhood.
As Fox Eye's Roger Geraldino shows us, it's blocking off the sidewalk as well as some parking spaces.
You know, when I first saw this story, when I first heard that introduction about a businessman building a fence in Queens, New York, that not only blocks off the sidewalk, but actually blocks off free parking spaces, I thought I was going to be against this guy. And the reason why is because parking that is free in the city of New York is divine. It is ordained by God as a just reward for those of us willing to search for it. And the fact is, all these anti-car lowlives, all these anti-car losers are ruining the entire country, not just the city of New York. But then I let the segment play a little bit further. But then I started to hear his side of the story, and I realized that this man at the center of this controversy, the constructor of this fence, is not only the hero that we need, but he is in fact a man so good that we do not deserve him, because the crux of this particular story is that the city of New York decided in a lawsuit to remove themselves from any kind of accountability related to a situation that involved this sidewalk. This person was declared the owner of this property, and he is now taking back his property, rebelling against the city of New York. And as we know from that Star Wars Rogue One trailer, rebellions are built on hope.
We have hope. Rebellions are built on hope.
And now I have to say I am 100% in support of him, because he has completely outsmarted the Democrats in the city of New York, and that is something that should be cheered. And now we're going to get into this. We're going to break this down. I'm going to cover all the twists and turns related to it. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
In Queens, on 77th Street and 19th Road, there's an industrial lot where some pretty unsavory things wind up on the sidewalk.
Finding needles, used condoms.
Anthony Della Vecchia owns the property. In January, a woman fell on that sidewalk on 19th Road. His security cameras caught it all.
All I saw was do a face plant. We got pictures of her with her cell phone on the floor, her face there, the puddle of blood, and napkins.
All right, so here's the setup to this particular story. As you could see, in January, there was no fence blocking off the sidewalk. There was no fence blocking off the parking. However, a woman ended up doing a faceplant while walking down this particular sidewalk. And of course, he describes in great detail that there was a puddle of blood, there was napkins everywhere, and all this unnecessary information for you guys at this moment in time, because the actual point of this, to cut to the heart of the matter, is that she ended up suing not only him, but the city of New York, due to the fact that there was not maintenance in the sidewalk or some such other nonsense. But the thing is, this is where the plot twist ends up coming in, because the city of New York decided that they weren't really interested in this lawsuit. They weren't really interested in this particular sidewalk. So they actually pulled the property records and told him that he was the sole owner of this property. Therefore, he was completely responsible for her slipping and falling. And by the way, completely responsible for all the trash and debris that was on his property, not on the public property that is the sidewalk and the street.
That woman sued.
The original lawsuit was for us, the city, every one of my corporations. The city refused the lawsuit.
How could they refuse?
They don't own the property.
After that, Della Vecchia built this fence along his property, which blocks off about 10 parking spaces.
Now I got ex-politicians and neighbors that don't even live across the street coming down and saying that they're going to cut down my fence. We're going to throw garbage over it. If you go on Reddit, there's all comments in it.
Look, I understand why people are angry. I understand why people are upset. Whenever you take free parking in the city of New York, that is obviously going to create issues. But again, the people that you should be upset at is not the property owner who was told when he was sued for somebody slipping and falling in this particular area that he was solely responsible. It's the city of New York, because they decided that they were going to say in their infinite wisdom that they don't own a single parcel parcel of this particular area. This is actually an extension of his property. Therefore, he has all of the accountability. And this is one of the major problems that this guy is facing, because essentially what they're saying is that they're going to privatize all the losses, but this property needs to be maintained for the public. So they're going to force him in order to pay for that, because this is some kind of weird socialist redistribution from one department of government. But on the other department of government, again, it is just it's his responsibility. He has to deal with it, and he has to pay for all the negative externalities associated with keeping this open to the public.
The New York City Department of Transportation is ordering him to take down the fence. In a statement to Fox 5, the department says DOT issued an encroachment notice of violation for the fencing, and we are reviewing property ownership as part of the process.
Why am I getting harassed? I have some documentation. Okay? If the city wants the property, pay me market value for it. $3,500, $350, $400 a square foot, that's over $1 million.
To prove his point, he pulled out some maps and property titles. Where does the sidewalk exist versus your property?
Okay, the sidewalk is inside the blue line, okay, from the dotted line to the solid line.
That dotted line is on the other side of this fence.
So as you can see right there, plain as day, this is the property map of this particular street. And it turns out that his lot extends into where the street is. It covers those 10 parking spaces, encapsulates the sidewalk as a whole. So what this actually ends up proving is that the city of New York is actually in violation of his property rights, because they built a sidewalk and they built a road there without actually paying him just compensation for the property. So this is actually a Fifth Amendment issue, because the city of New York is essentially trying to seize this from him without compensating him from this. And again, the additional layer where the city of New York also says that they're not responsible for anything that goes on there. They just get to build whatever they want. They get to put the sidewalk up. They get to pave the road and whatnot, but he has to cover the costs, and it just doesn't make any sense. And this is why this news story completely turned me around on this particular person, because what he's doing is making a statement, and it's a good statement right here. And he points out to the news person that if he continues to get sued in these personal injury lawsuits, what's actually going to end up happening is that amount that he's going to pay for lawyers and to settle those suits is going to be greater than what he's actually going to pay in fines to the New York Department of Transit, who, by the way, is issuing the fine and demanding that he take down the fence by May 17th, while also saying that they have to review the property records, because it turns out the property records are reflective of the fact that he has ownership of this. So in my opinion, even though free parking, again, is of the gods, it is ordained, it is the greatest gift of all of humanity in the city of New York, is that you can't violate this guy's private property rights in order to do that.
But the blue area, it includes the sidewalk and even a portion of the street. Della Vecchia says he needs this fence in order to shield himself from further injury lawsuits, the value of which might be much higher than what the city could even fine him.
I have to May 17th, by their order, which is 38 order, to remove the fence. I'm not removing the fence.
Now, this guy also said quite clearly that he's not removing the fence, and the city of New York should pay him just compensation, which he believes is over $1 million for this property right here. And honestly, I 100% agree with him. If they want to hack off a portion of his lot, make it open to the public, but also make him bear the brunt of the negative costs, they should compensate him for that. That's why we have the Fifth Amendment. That's why we have the eminent domain clause. And in reality, it is the city of New York that is completely in violation right here. And this man has just outsmarted all the politicians, all the Democrats who thought that they were going to skirt around a personal injury lawsuit by declaring that he was responsible for this property, but now are trying to alter the deal again. Pray they don't alter it any further.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
In order to essentially mandate that this guy expose himself and all of his businesses to all these different crazy lawsuits, while again, in addition to everything else, requiring him to also clean up the needles and all the problems associated with this neighborhood that, by the way, are a consequence of New York's soft on crime kind of policing policies. So yeah, I'm actually 100% on board with this individual. I support him. I actually like this. I find this to be hilarious. Many people will liken this to Peter Griffin finding out that his property is an unincorporated territory and thus he can form his own nation. But yeah, it's really just something that I wanted you guys to look at. I wanted you guys to examine, and I definitely 100% want you guys to support this individual. But of course, I will leave this up to you guys out there in the audience. What do you think about this particular case? Should the man just take down the fence and pay out all these different personal injury lawsuits? Should the city of New York give him his just compensation? Or do you believe that the people who are falling on the sidewalk face down are the real people that need the right to be able to do that and sue this individual, and that's what's being impeded right here? Again, all your thoughts down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a man completely outsmarting politicians in the city of New York. Till next time.